Welcome back, everyone. I have a very special video for you today. Today we will be building the 2024 limited edition kit called Ahsoka's Marine Supplies. Now the kit is named after my father-in-law who passed away last month. And his favorite thing to do in the world was fishing. He just absolutely loved it. So I named the kit after him. Now the kit is a limited edition. There will only be 250 made. The limited edition kit that I did last year sold out in 24 hours. And I've had so many people ask me if I would put out more, if I would make more. No. No, it's a limited edition. This kit, there will only be 250 of them made, and that is it. Now you can purchase the kit on my website at jasonjensentrains.com, and I'll put it right here on the screen for you. Now, if you are a Patreon member, a paid Patreon member, you receive a discount, and the discount code can be found on my Patreon page at patreon.com/JasonJensenTrains. Let me quick show you a video of what we're going to be building. All right, well, as you can see, this is an exciting kit. There's so much involved in building this. Now, to get started building this, we're actually going to start with the pier that the structure sits on. I'm starting with that because it's a little tricky. It takes some time and some finessing. But after that, then you're on to the fun part of the structure building and adding all of the details. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the pier. Okay, let's build the wood pier that the model sits on. We have the wood deck with the scribed lines. We have 2 ladders. We have all of these pieces. These will be in a full sheet, and you'll have to cut them out. But you'll see the ends are the same. Should have 16 of these. And again, they'll be in a full rectangle sheet. Then we have this. You may have to punch out some of the holes if they're stuck in there a little bit. Then we have wooden dowels. You'll have 11 of these. And then we'll take 3 of these. There might be more in the kit, but all we need for this is 3. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take our wood deck and we're going to rough it up, especially the edges. So I'm taking a file . Now let's go ahead and just make some scratches in it. And we can even cut some of these boards. I'll show you quick. Okay, just roughed it up with a wire brush. It's kind of a soft wire brush, so it just adds a little bit of grain. And then if you wanted to, I have this straight piece. You could even take a nail and maybe just add some knot holes. Now remember, there's a structure that sits in the middle towards the back. So really, if you just do this edge and in the front, you're fine. And now we're going to stain the deck. And we're using marine teak. Oh, and it is from besttrains.com. Okay, now let's take our wood and stain that. First, we'll start with these. Okay, it's a little bit light, so I'm just going to take some bittersweet chocolate, and this one's called iced coffee. And we're going to mix those, probably 50-50. We kind of need a lot because we need to paint these pieces too with it, and all of these. It's going to be more of a wash. You can see this piece is starting to curl up a little bit, but we'll get this wash on it and we'll flip it over and put some weights on it. I'm just flipping it over and we're going to do the other side. Now we'll set that aside and let's get all of these painted. I'm going to get another paper towel. Now at home, you're going to want to paint these before you cut them out. It's going to be a lot easier. But we're going to try to do this. Trying to get these all flipped over. Okay, now we'll let all this dry. And then we'll come back and glue our base. And if you want to, let's try painting this, but I don't want to get it too wet because this is a paper material and I don't want it to curl. Guess we'll paint our ladders while we're at it. I thought I'd mixed too much paint, but it was actually just enough. Okay, all of our pieces are drying. I have weights on this piece. Now let's take all of our wooden dowels and we're going to cut those into 1.5-inch pieces. Let me set up my chopper so that they're all exactly the same length. Okay, I've cut one of them at 1.5 inches. Let me double check that. Okay, 1.5 inches. Now, we'll tighten that down. That's our stopper. Now the last piece is going to be a little bit shorter, but we're going to use those. But make sure you set those to the side. Make sure too that when you push that up against, I'll show you. When you take your full length one and you push it up against there, gently place it there, because if every time you shove it up against there kind of hard, that may move a little bit, and so each one gets longer and longer. So you want to gently Put it right up to it, then cut. And I'm putting the shorter one over here. So all of these are 1.5 inches. I'll put a link in the description so that you can buy one of these. Okay, it's been drying for a while, and I even took the hair dryer and put some heat on it. Now, normally what I do, if something is, say, you can see here, it's kind of curling, put the heat on the opposite side. So if it's bending like that, put the heat on this side. And you can sort of bend it while you're blow drying it. So don't worry if it curls up a little bit. You can bend it and straighten it out. Same with this. If it curls, this feels still a little bit damp. I might heat it up some more. But you can bend this. And I even cracked it, which is fine. You can see there. I just cracked it a little ways. Because we're going to glue this to the bottom of it. So if it's curled up on you, you can bend it, crack it slightly in those lines. Get it as flat as you can. And then we're going to glue this. Now it's important to have it centered. And these pieces here have these little tabs on each end. So those hang over. So you can use one at this end and one at the other end to make sure that you have that completely centered on there. Or if you want, measure it and draw lines on there with a pencil so that you know where to glue this. Okay, so I placed it where I want it, and then I took a pencil and just went around the corners. Now we don't want to soak this with glue because, again, it'll just curl up. So we're going to do on the very edge. Thin. I'm just doing a very thin line. If you want to kind of dab it with your finger to spread it out. So if you have a flat piece of wood or say a book that completely covers it, that would work best. I'm going to see if I can find a little rectangle, something flat that I can put on this. Okay, I put it in between two pieces of plywood, and then I actually put big paint cans on it to weight it down. So I'm going to let that dry overnight that way. Okay, it is the next morning, and as you can see, this dried completely flat. Again, I put it in between two pieces of plywood and put some paint, gallon paint buckets on it. So, yeah, I'm happy that it's completely dry and that it's flat. Okay, next we're going to take all of these and glue them in place. Now you may have to take a file those a little bit if they're not completely flat. Most of them are. As that glue starts to set up, then you can start to move these and make sure they're perfectly straight. As that glue starts to dry, just keep rotating it and moving those. Look at it from all different angles. You can even take a straight edge Okay, we'll let that dry for a little bit. Okay, I let that dry for a while. Now, we need to glue on all of these. And let's get a pair of tweezers. The first thing we want to do is make sure these are all straight. So if they bowed a little bit from painting them, very easily they straighten out. Okay, let's see. You can see I just put a little bit of glue on the edge of it. Just have to hold it there until that glue sets up. Okay, this will take a while to glue all these. You know, I started with this first because I feel like this is the hardest part of the kit. The rest of it, building the structure that goes on top of it, will be a lot easier than this. I don't know if it's so hard, it just is very, seems to be a little more time consuming. I may switch to super glue, that way I don't have to hold it and wait for that to set up. Okay, the last one. And don't worry if yours is maybe bowed a little bit. Once you get the structure glued on there, and we'll put a little bit of super glue on the bottom of the structure and put it on here, and that will really flatten it out if it's curved a little bit. Okay, now we have all of these. And I want to put these along the front, and I might cut them different lengths. I'm going to cut these at different heights and then glue them right to the front of these. So all I did was took some clippers and clipped them at all different lengths. Now we'll take a file and round the top just a little bit. Go ahead and do that on all of them. Okay, we have 4 little ones left, and I'm going to put 2 on the end and then maybe 2 more in the front. I put the weights on there to hold it down so I could glue these and it wouldn't keep moving. I glued it to the table. Next, we're going to add rope around those pilings. So you'll get a long piece of rope in the kit, and we'll just simply flip this upside down. This is really easy to do. I put a little bit of glue on the end. Now keep in mind you're upside down, so you want that string low so that when you flip it over, it's up high. Okay, so I glued the backside, then wrapped it around 3 times. I cut it, and now I'm just going to add a little bit of super glue to the end and wrap it around. So again, make sure that you wrap the rope around there 3 times. There's enough rope in the kit for 3 wraps on all these in front, and then you'll have some extra rope, and we're going to use those up here. I almost forgot, there's one more thing on this, and that is these. And we're going to glue those on the back side along the front. Hopefully you can see this, but I'm just putting some glue just underneath the rope. Now on this one, I want to make some of those, make some of them broken. Now if you want to, you can put some along here too. Okay, now it is finished. And we'll do some weathering on this after we get the structure on it. Okay, now let's move on to the structure. The first thing we're going to do is take the 2 sheets of walls, and we're going to stain all the small pieces while they're still in here, and I think that's going to help them prevent them from warping, because the tabs are attached to them. So again, we're using marine teak. Now I don't want to do the big walls because I want to cut those out and brace the back of them. That'll really help prevent them from warping, and the bracing helps glue the walls together. Okay, now we'll start with a brand new blade, and we're going to start with the large structure first, the one that's sort of in the middle. Okay, so the only walls we're dealing with right now are these 4. So you have this one that has a door right here and 3 windows. This one, which is the same size, it has 4 windows. And then these 2, which are identical. Okay, these 4 are done. These 2, I put the bracing all the way to the edge, down both sides. These, I came in 1/8 of an inch on both sides. So what I suggest is we'll put an A on these. Okay, now we'll work on the structure that goes to the right of it, and that will be B. Alright, for the structure that goes to the right of the big one, I labeled them B. There's 3. There's a 4th wall, but it's task board, and I'll put a B on that one too. Here's how I braced these. So the big wall in the front that has the big door opening, I put the bracing all the way to the edge, right there. Then on this side next to the window, I came in 1/16 of an inch. You can see I wrote it right there. 1/16 of an inch in from the edge. Same on this one. All the way to the edge next to the door opening. Then on the other side, I came in 1/16 of an inch. Then on this wall, I came in 1/8 of an inch from the end. Now this wall, well, all 3 of these actually are the same exact height. And these 2 are the same length. This one is slightly shorter. Now, all these in the instructions, they'll have letters just like I've put on here, so you'll know, and I'll let you know exactly where to put the bracing in the diagram. Okay, the next structure is also going to have 3 walls, and the 4th wall is going to be task board, the white cardboard. Sometimes it's easier to cut these out from the back. Okay, on the 3 C walls, on this one, I came in 1/8 of an inch on both sides. So instead of measuring 1/8 of an inch, just take a piece of the thick square bracing, put that right on the edge, and then glue the piece right next to it. That's for your spacing. Okay, now this piece, well, we'll start with this one. Right next to the window, all the way to the edge, there's a piece of bracing. Now, the bracing on this side comes in 1/16 of an inch. So I just take a piece of the 1/16 inch that's provided in the kit and put that on the edge and glue that piece right next to it. Same on this one. There's no window or opening, but it'll be the same. Okay, on this one, there's a thinner side here and a thicker side. They're not the same. You want the thinner piece at the top of the wall. Hopefully you can see the difference. So this is the bottom and this is the top. You can see in comparison to that piece of wood. So make sure you mark top. Okay, these are all labeled D. And again, there's a 4th wall, but it's going to be in task board. So let's see. On this one, go all the way to the edge and then come in 1/16 of an inch on this side. So there's the front. You're going to go all the way to the edge on this side. And then 1/16 on this. Then you're going to take another one. It's the same exact size. And you're going to do the opposite. You're going to go all the way to the edge on this side and 1/16 in on this side. Because they're going to go like this. Then we have the side wall that'll get put on there. And the bracing is 1/8 inch in on both sides. Real quick, I'll show you what's left on here. And we'll just clip off the extra. Okay, be careful if you do that and any of your little triangles pop out. I had one triangle pop out of there, so need to make sure we don't lose that. Okay, now we'll go ahead and stain the walls. Okay, our walls are all dried. Now we're going to start to paint them, and we're using light buttermilk. I want these walls to look heavily worn. A lot of the paint is chipped off of them. Okay, I spray painted the corner trim and the trim that goes underneath the overhang of the roof. I sprayed all of the shutters and doors and windows, and I sprayed them with a reddish brown primer. Okay, I've got all of the window frames and the door frames glued in, and then I painted the inside of the wood opening to match. Now we can cut the acetate, glue it to the back of the windows, and get those glued in. Okay, I've got all of the doors and windows glued in place. And you can see I did some chipping on the window frame and door frame using iced coffee. I just simply dipped my sponge in the paint and then dabbed it on a paper towel and then sponged on the frame. Now I didn't glue that door in because I want that door to be open, like maybe halfway open. Same with this. There's two big doors that go in there, and I haven't glued them in yet because I want to have them open. But I did get them all painted. Okay, we're close to being able to assemble these walls. But the first thing we want to do is put windows in where all these circles are. And here are the windows and the frames. Okay, I've glued on all the frames, little window frames, and painted the inside. And we have all of our windows painted, and I glued them onto acetate, and you'll see I cut it bigger than the window. That way we can glue it from the back side. Okay, I'll get all these windows glued in, and then we'll start to assemble our walls. Okay, we got the two peaks glued on the top of those walls. And I put corner trim down both sides. And then took a sponge and sponged on some of the iced coffee. Same with this one. Both sides. Let's focus on this building first, and then we'll go over the walls for the other ones. So you have these two, so it gets glued together just like that. Okay, I just put some glue in the corner. Okay, this one is done. And I made sure that it lines up on my grid. Everything is nice and square. You probably saw me using this to assemble it. Again, you want to make sure your walls are nice and square. Okay, we'll set that aside, and let's move on to this one. Now we have 3 walls, and they're all the same height. These two are the same length, and this one's a little bit shorter. Now, I had to put corner trim along that side, and corner trim on this side. So it will basically be like this. Now, to make sure that's nice and square, you have this sheet that comes in the kit. And we're going to cut these pieces out. The one for this is... So cut out that piece and then cut out the one in the center. Okay, set these aside. We're going to use this one and we're going to use this one later. Okay, for now, we're using this one. Now, I've kind of forgotten this step. We need to attach this on top of there. First, we want to make sure that we have nice smooth edges. I sometimes run a bead across the joint. Okay, now you'll see these two look the same. Okay, let's take this one here. Okay, I'm lining it up on my grid. Now we'll take this wall and glue that right there. Again, use your grid or take your block and make sure it's square. Okay, now we'll take this piece and we'll glue it right in there like that. So I'm putting glue down the edge and a little bit on the front. Now, I provided this piece for the simple fact that it adds support for the roof card, but also that it has an opening in case you want to light each section so that you can have your wires run through it, because that will get glued to the side like that. Okay, now let's build the next one. We're going to need this piece, but I haven't glued the window. Okay, take that back. Let's hold off on that one. Sorry. We're going to go the other direction. So we're going to build the structure that goes over on this side. So we have that wall. Then we have two thin ones. Now these, get these little triangles glued on top of it. Let's do one at a time so we don't get confused. So we're taking this wall right here and we're putting that triangle on top of there. And if you have a little scrap piece, no big deal if you don't, but just to keep it straight, I'm going to add one on here. I'll show you. Okay, that's going to go just like that. Now let's do the other one. Important to line up the back. You want that to be flat. And that'll go just like that. Now, for the fourth wall in the back, we have this. And I apologize, I should have cut an opening out of that again, in case you want to light it, the wires can go through there. Let me quick, just for the example, I'm not going to light mine, but I want to show you quick, if you're building this at home, when you do want to light it, so I basically laid this wall on it and traced it. Okay, let's glue these together. I don't know why I keep using the super glue. It's just there, and I'm just grabbing it because it's just right there. But you can definitely just use regular white Elmer's glue to glue this together. Okay, that one is all done. You can see I engraved arrows on there to show you what goes up. Same on that one. Okay, the window frame that goes here is this right here, and it gets glued on the front. We'll cut out the 2 squares in the rectangle, and then we need to cut clear plastic that goes behind the 2 top windows. Now we're going to paint this silver. Okay, I've cut my clear piece of acetate. Now I'm going to glue it in place. Now again, you don't have to use super glue. Okay, now we have the back wall, which is the same exact length, and we've got this side wall. Now the side wall, I glued corner trim on both sides, so it'll get glued together just like that. And we have our 4th wall with the engraved arrow going up. So it's like that. Okay, now we need to glue all these together, and like I said, you can center them, you can bring them forward, you can put them towards the back, however you want to do it. Actually, I think I was going to center all mine, but I'm going to put them towards the back, not all the way. I'll show you when let me glue this one. Or maybe this will be a better example with this. Okay, I didn't go all the way to the back. You can see the corner trim is showing. Now the reason I'm doing that is because it allows for more room on the deck for small detail parts. I'm going to do the same with this one. Now this one here, I may bring it forward just a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of space back there. Now I just noticed I painted the inside of that opening for that window the reddish brown color, but I should have painted it silver. So I'm going to do that now. That is dry brush paint from Ammo. Now let's move on to the roof cards. Now there are shutters that get put on both sides of the windows. You can do that now. You could even do that before when the walls are still flat. Completely up to you. I'm going to do the roof cards next, and then we'll quick glue on all of the shutters. So here is the roof card. I had one piece drop out, it's over there. Let's get a gray primer sprayed on both sides of this to seal it. Okay, I sprayed both sides with a gray primer. Then after it was dry, I sprayed this side with the reddish brown primer. Same with this little piece. I sprayed that with the reddish brown because of the overhang. You'll see it underneath. Okay, let's go ahead and cut these all out. Okay, we'll start with this one right here. Now, very lightly, you may want to drag your blade across these folds. It just makes it a little easier. But take your time, especially if you're not using a ruler. You want to stay right in that groove. You don't have to score these lines. The lines, there's 3 lines that are straight. You don't have to score those. Now we'll glue this, but that's basically what it's going to look like. Now we'll glue that on there just like that. So you may very, very lightly you don't want to snap these walls. Make sure that's nice and level and smooth. Very lightly. I'm just very lightly dragging that across that, just so that it bends a little easier. Make sure it has an equal amount of overhang. That's exciting. Okay, after seeing this put together, it definitely needs some weathering, and I want to tone it down a bit with murky brown. This is sort of my go-to stain. I really like it. So I'm really just going to go over everything. And it's not a big change, but it's going to definitely tone it down. Now I'm trying the back first in case I didn't quite like it. It's subtle, but I really like it. Okay, we're going to need to do these also. Start with worn penny. Now this will take probably 3 coats. So again, don't try to cover it all in one coat. Do nice, even, thin coats. Okay, now we'll do the second coat. And I think I'll shake this again. Okay, so I'm putting a patina on the copper, and I mixed light avocado and desert turquoise, about 50-50, and I didn't mix it up, I just kind of swirled them together, so I'm getting a little bit of both. You can see I've already done some here. We're going to do a lighter color next on it. Okay, now we're going to use Sea Breeze. Not much, just a little bit here and there, and only over the areas that we just did. And I'm going to mix it with what we've got here, so it's not quite so bright. Okay, the next thing we have to do is put on all of the dormers. So the first thing we're going to do is take our file and file the bottom of these just to put a slight angle on them. That way it sits better on the roof. Okay, I'll go ahead and file all of these. Then we just simply have to glue all these little triangle pieces to the back side. Now it's important that you do the back side, and we should actually paint the edges of these our off-white color. But again, these go on the back side, not next to it like that, behind it. I had mentioned it, but I forgot to paint the edge of the little wall there on all of these. You can see I just forgot to paint that. But what I'm going to do is I have the name is worn off, and I apologize, and it might just be called reddish brown primer or red primer. I don't know why they call it red, but some companies call it red primer, but it's a good match, and it is from Ammo. This would be much easier to do before you glue these on. So now it dries darker. It looks kind of bright now, but it darkens up, so it's a pretty good match. Okay, now we have to put the patina on it, and again I just mixed light avocado and desert turquoise. Okay, next we're going to paint all of these ribs that go on to all of the rooftops. So I just put some tape on here. This will hold it in place. So to glue all of these on, we're going to take our white Elmer's glue. Now this is going to be a little time consuming. So put it right over the engraved line, and then take your brush and just drag it down. Clean up that glue. Now the ones on here are going to be a little bit long, so you're just going to have to trim them. I always line up the bottom first, make sure it's level at the bottom. And you can wait until they're all on and everything's dry, then go ahead and take your knife and cut them. You can get your brush a little damp. And clean up any little extra glue if you want. And we're gonna have to cut 2 small ones that go up there, and then 2 small ones that go down here. Okay, for the shutters, we've already painted these, the reddish brown primer, and it's on the dark brown material. And then each one of these gets one of these at the top and at the bottom, and I'll show you. And there's little nail holes in them. And then we also have some longer ones. And those are for these 2. We'll put one at the top and one at the bottom on each. Okay, the shutters are all done. Now we're going to take our iced coffee and a sponge and make these look like the paint is chipping off of them. Okay, all the shutters are on. Even put on the doors. Okay, next we have to cut all of the trim that goes underneath the overhang of the roof. And I have painted both sides of the trim with the reddish brown primer. Okay, the trim is all done. I even added rafter tails. Now, if you don't want to take the time to do the rafter tails, you can just simply trim the trim that's under the overhang flush with the side of the building. You can add it straight on the side or just leave it. It's completely up to you. I really like the look of the rafter tails showing. Okay, now let's move on to getting signs put on this. Okay, next we're going to spray these a teal color. Okay, I sprayed a gray primer on this front and back. Then I masked it off and sprayed that part teal. And I also sprayed this part teal. This is the frame that goes over this piece. But we have to get our sign put in there. Okay, all of the signs are on. Let me show you quick. Even have a life ring and another life ring. Okay, now let's glue this onto the pier. Okay, I took a pencil and marked exactly where I want it. Now we'll glue it on. Okay, I've painted all of the detail parts and glued them on. Let me go over them quick with you. We'll start with the little finials that go on the peaks. Now you'll notice the front and the back, they're slightly larger, a little fancier, and then these two are a little bit more simple. Same with this one out here. Then you have this one and this one here. There's another sign that I added. We have pelicans. We have cleats, rope, a couple barrels, an anchor. Here we have another sign. And we have some seagulls down below. Okay, the only thing left to do is the crane that sits right here. And that is made up of this and this. All these parts. And then we have some rope for it. Okay, I sprayed this with a reddish brown primer and then put a thin black wash over it just to bring out the rivets. This I sprayed with a gray primer, then went over it with a tan paint and then lightly dry brushed it. Now I suggest doing one side at a time. And I'll have detailed instructions in the kit for you to build this. Way too much glue. Way too much glue. Okay. I'll get all the pieces glued on this side, and then I'll show you up close, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Now we'll flip it over and we'll put all those same pieces on the other side. Okay, it's all done, but we need to paint the inside of that material. See how it's white? Same with up here. Hopefully you can see that, but it's white in there. So I'm just going to take some bittersweet chocolate. Now there is another little piece that gets glued right on the very end, and it's a little square right there. Now when we cut that out, you'll see there's two little circles. Those circles, one gets glued in here, in between there, and then one gets glued right in between there. Okay, the circles are glued in place. Now there is two circles, one here and one there. We're going to cut those out and glue one on this side and one on the other side. It doesn't matter which side. Now before I glued that wood cylinder in there, I should have wrapped rope around it. So this will be a little bit tricky, but we'll make it work. Now we have to put the two hooks together, and then this square goes on top of this square, and that's the base. Okay, the model is complete. Now I did take some engine oil from Ammo and put it around the base of that crane just to give it a grease look. Then along the bottom of the pilings I did slimy grime. Those are both from Ammo. Great products. Alright, let me take the camera off and give you a closer look. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This was such a fun build. Now, this project takes a while. This took me a week to build. So it is not a quick project. Now again, there will only be 250 kits produced. And again, you can order the kit on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. All right, well, thank you all so much for your continued support. I truly appreciate it. And don't forget, if you are a paid Patreon member, you receive a discount, and the discount code can be found on my Patreon page. All right, well, until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.